Hi friends, welcome back to my Flosstube. My name is Sarah and this is my channel, The Rocking Chair Stitcher. This is episode 11, I think. I always tell myself I'm going to write it down. I did actually write notes this time, so maybe I'll be semi-organized. Thank you for coming back and watching my video. If you're new here, thank you. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe. And if you've been here a bit, thank you for coming back again and visiting with me. It's been a little while since I think it was March 20th or 22nd that I last posted, so I'm thankful to be back and get a chance to video and share. My son is napping, so we'll see how long his nap goes before I have to pause this, but maybe I'll get all the way through. There's been a lot of life in the last month and a half, and it's just not afforded the chance to really get to do a Flosstube. Our house is now on the market. I mentioned last time, I think it was, that we had decided to move back to Ontario after we lost my father-in-law this winter. So our house is on the market now. It's been on for a few weeks and we're just waiting. We've had several showings and stuff, so we'll see what God does. That's a real lesson in trust and patience. So I tell Justin patience means waiting with love, and I'm not always good at doing that myself, but we're getting there, and it'll happen when it happens, when it's supposed to. So the last couple of weeks to month or so, I guess, has been a lot. Josh's grandma went into hospice and has since passed away, and so we just got back from being out of province again for her funeral, and that was good to be near family, and yeah, feels like a lot of loss in the last year, so just really trying to process that and accepting and learning how to grieve. Seems to be a weird season, but that is the one that we're in, so yeah, just trying to be supportive to Josh and also deal with my own grief. This grandma was a really cool lady and always made me feel very welcomed. She was an immigrant from Holland, so when I immigrated from Canada, she always kind of connected with me with that, and yeah, so she was a special lady. She was a stitcher as well. She was a, I don't know if I'm gonna have the right term here, like a seamstress, but like she was trained, so like she could make hats and coats, and like, so that she trained in the Netherlands, and she was born in the 1920s, but I don't remember if it was 28 or somewhere in there. She was 94 and a half, so she immigrated to Canada sometime right after World War II, followed her sweetheart and got married. Josh's grandpa, Josh's middle name is named after his grandpa, as well as Justin's middle name, one of his, is named after her husband. So it's cool. She always calls Justin her little Teddy. She said, I know his name's Justin, but I always just think of him as my little Teddy. I can't do her accent very well, but so yeah, she was a cool lady. So that was good to go back and just talk about some memories and see they had a special table before the funeral at the visitation with just things she had sewn and things she had stitched, and there was this cool like big sampler that she had stitched when she was, I think the math that came out to, she was like 17, I think, when she stitched it. So that was cool to see and think about, you know, someone, a 17-year-old, stitching, doing a hobby that I love now. I don't think it was all cross stitch, but I'm not sure. So anyway, it was just cool to see. There was also a stitch of a map of the Netherlands that she had framed and in her hallway at her home before she moved into the retirement village or retirement place or whatever. And so that was cool to see again too. I'll see if I can get photos of those. I don't know how well I can get photos into my video editing or not lately, but I'll pull my hair out of the way, because do you guys ever do that? Like you get busy doing something, you just keep playing fiddling. Okay, anyway. So, it was a good trip back. We also scouted out potential cities and towns to live in. The market is very hot in in Ontario for the housing market. So, we might be living a little bit further away from family, but driving distance, like on a Saturday morning. So, yeah, it was a good trip for that too, just to kind of see. We toured some homes, and oh my goodness, you get the whole run of the gambit when you go look at homes, and the photos online look nothing like the houses. 2 houses we went into, it was like, literally, I think we made it into like 2 rooms in them, and I was like, Josh, I can't, like, because we would love to flip houses, that kind of thing, the idea of it, and he's really into that and really good at that, but I don't like living construction zone at all. And especially now, not with a toddler. That is not the phase of life we're in anymore. So minor renovations are fine, but not a house that needs to be gutted down to the studs. But we did see a couple that were okay, but we weren't quite ready to make an offer and weren't quite sure. Just weren't feeling it. Like that feeling you're looking for when you're hunting for a house. So anyway, we are back to just we've stopped looking at real estate listings for the last couple of days since we've been back, and it's been nice to take a little break mentally because we need our house to sell first. So we'll see what God does. We're just looking and planning and mostly just kind of breathing, just taking a break. And last night we went for a walk and made dinner and prepped some food for the week, for grocery, for meals, and yeah, just like keeping it slow and simple, which is really nice and really needed right now. So anyway, that is kind of my personal update on all that and where I've been. And I've not been using my book days anywhere near as much as I'd like to say. I used it partway through April, and then a lot of life was happening. But we had different appointments and things we were waiting on here in Nova Scotia, and maybe in other provinces too in Canada, but you often wait like a year to get into different doctors and stuff. So it just felt like everything kind of happened this spring, like for all the appointments we were waiting for random things. And so a lot of busy, but it's a little calmer right now, which is nice. I have been stitching, and if you follow me on Instagram, you might have seen some of that on there. So I usually share a lot more on there, a lot more frequently, because it's easy to quickly upload something and to connect with other people when they're stitching and stuff like that. So Book of Days is nothing interesting to show, but I'm hoping to get back into it, and there'll only be a little blank section, but that's real life, right? I'm just looking down at my notes here. Oh, the other thing that's not on my notes, but I have to tell you, Justin is walking. He is like walking, like all on his own. Yesterday he walked around at the playground and went down the slide by himself, and I was like, when did this happen? So a couple weeks ago he just kind of stood up and just walked, and I was like, what in the world? Like, he's been cruising and going a few steps at a time for a while now, like 8 or 9 steps max, but like now he's really walking. So we have been spending as much time outside to get as much what vitamin do you get from the sun? C or D, whichever one, the alphabet. There you go. Get as much vitamins we can from the sun, but it's just been so good on my mental health and just being out. So he is walking everywhere and he's loving exploring. So I'll just sit in the grass and he just toddles all over the yard. The other day he bent down and bit a dandelion and then kind of just stood up and I was like, was that gross? And he kind of just and just walked off. So he's not a fan of dandelions, but it was really cute. But yeah, so he's doing good. Josh is doing good as well. We're both tired, so it's good to kind of just be slowing down. But anyway, that is life update. Maybe next time, by the time I film, we'll have a house sold, so we'll see. But because we are in the process of selling, I've been packing things up progressively over the last little bit. So one of my FFOs is packed away. I meant to leave it out so I could show you guys, but totally forgot. So I have a picture of it here. I have some pictures of a few things to show you on my phone, but my phone is almost dead. So this is me right now trying to get in between naps and all that kind of thing, or during naps. So I finished a pattern called Prospect House, and I genuinely cannot remember if I had even started it last time. This house is inspired by a maritime home up in New Minas, Nova Scotia. So I'll turn the volume off there so we don't get a bunch of those. In New Minas, Nova Scotia. And so every time we drive past it, because that's where my Michael's is. It's like an hour and a half from here. So in order to get floss and that kind of stuff, I don't order it. I've got to go there in person. So every time I pass it, I think to myself, like, oh my goodness, that house needs to be stitched. So I had a blast stitching this one. It's on Prospect Road, so that's where the name came from. I Googled it to see history and I didn't find anything. When I looked it up back in March or whatever, I guess when I was designing it, maybe it was February. Either way, when I looked it up, it was for sale. So if you want to buy this house, you could cross stitch it and buy it at the same time. No, but it was fun to stitch. That pattern is now in my Etsy shop. I have been designing and stitching my designs and then putting them up for sale in my Etsy shop, but really the way I talk about them is on here. So I have a couple of them today because I haven't been on forever, that I want to share with you. So that is my first FFO, and I went and picked a frame, and I didn't even iron it to get it in there to get the photos because my iron died on me. So I'm in that stage before moving where it's like I have a list of things that I need to replace or fix or whatever in my house, but I don't use them constantly. I'm like, do I want to buy this before we move? Or would I rather us get moved, get settled in, and not have to move all that extra stuff? So that's the phase I'm in right now. But I'm like, depends on how long it takes for the house to sell. But anyway, so that is Prospect House. I was tickled with how it came out. I don't know if you can really even see a lot of the details on there, but the little lemon trees, it's kind of washing out. But the little lemons all over are the same yellow as the house, but they're showing up a little bit more dull. But I had a lot of fun. I particularly liked the railing and the fencing. So Josh, when he looked at the house and when he looked at my picture, because he's a carpenter, so this is how he thinks. He's like, oh, you made it to code. Because I guess the real house, when he looked at the picture, the chimneys are too low. And so I made the chimneys taller. And so now they're to code, apparently. So yeah, so that was my first FFO. So that's tucked away, but I'm excited to get it out and have it on my walls at our new house. Let's see, what are my other FFOs? Okay, so this one is I'm working on what might turn into a kind of a sampler of mushrooms, but I got so eager to stitch one, and I wanted to stitch one in a tiny version. So this is being gifted to a friend for her birthday. So my keychain skills lack something to be desired, but that's okay. So I'm just trying to get good lighting here. So this is tiny mushrooms. I don't know how well it's showing or not. But I had so much fun stitching. This is a tiny, and I just finished it in like a little pillow thing. This is the fabric that was dyed. Oh goodness. I'm not gonna remember. I participated in a swap where we shopped for each other, and the lady hand dyed fabric for me, and I turned it into this. So she had dyed 2 different colors, and these were just screaming to be stitched on. There we go, maybe it'll, anyway. So this is the first of maybe several, but this little tiny mushrooms pattern is in my Etsy shop if you want the pattern, it's there. That was so fun to stitch. I did all that, I think, in like an afternoon, and then stitched it up into a little pillow, and I just had some foam stuff that I filled it with because all of my sewing and stuffing and stuff is actually down at the church where we're doing a quilting class that I have not managed to make it back to but one. So eventually I'll get down there and get all my stuff back and hopefully make it to another class. But and then another pattern that I did that I'm really excited about has a story. When I was a little girl in North Carolina, there was a Miss Helen whose house was in front of us because we lived kind of on cul-de-sacs in this neighborhood. And so Miss Helen was in front of us and Miss Ellen was behind us. And Miss Helen had a garage full of cool stuff because she had lots of grandkids that would come. And Miss Ellen must have been a great-grandma, if not a great-great-grandma by the time we lived near her. And she had a screened-in porch. And she kept a little basket on her screened-in porch with these little figurines like cowboys and stuff and little soldiers and everything and little canoes and all that kind of thing. And she said that was the basket for us kids to come play, so she'd invite us. And she was very mannerly and expected us to be mannerly, and there were 7 children in my family and we were wild. So to go on Miss Ellen's deck, you had to be calm and play quietly and nicely and not fight with your sister or brother. And she would invite a couple of us on at a time, and we would come onto her deck, and it was so nice because the hot sun in the summertime, you cool off. And her whole theme on her deck was decorated in watermelons, and inside her house was decorated with bunnies, everything bunnies. And she had in her bathroom, I remember having to use her washroom one time, she had in there, she had a fuzzy pink foot rug right around the toilet, and then she had a fuzzy pink seat cushion cover thing, and then everything in her bathroom was dripping in pink. And I think about it now, and I think of that scene from Still Magnolias, that her colors are pink and pink. She says, "No, Mama, my colors are blush and bashful." And if you've never seen this movie, you think I'm nuts right now and have no idea what I'm talking about, go watch Still Magnolias. There is a lot of language in that movie, so watch it with your own discretion. But it's absolutely one of my favorites for a truly Southern movie with truly Southern accents. Like, it's excellent. Anyway, all that to say, Miss Ellen's house holds some sweet memories for me. Sitting on her porch playing with those toys. She had these little frogs you push the back of, and they'd hop. These little plastic frogs. Anyway, her porch deck thing was always decorated in watermelons. And so I got thinking about the other month, I guess, and I came up with this. And so this is, I think I have to hold it this way to not catch the sun glare. I'm sitting in a new spot today, and because we're on my cross stitch this right now. Anyway, so this is Miss Ellen's porch. I really don't know if it's picking up very well at all. So I was designing it, and I said, "Josh, it's missing something." He said, "It needs ants." Ants always come to watermelon, so that's where the ants came from, and I'm really glad he said that. And then the seed spinning contest is actually a little nod to Josh's childhood. There's some iconic photos from when he and his siblings were younger, and his mom or dad took them. I think his dad actually took them, of them spitting seeds from a watermelon contest. And so it's just a fond memory for them too. So I thought, oh, that's fun. So I have a picture of me eating watermelon from when I was a little girl at a family reunion. And there's pictures of Josh and his siblings from that. So I'm hoping at some point maybe to put this in a frame or something with those photos around it, just because it holds significance. And then maybe one day we'll have a photo of Justin chowing down on watermelon, which actually, you know what, I think I actually have a really cute one of him already with watermelon. I'll have to look. So anyway, that was fun. Yeah, I found this fabric at a fabric shop in Yarmouth, and I just thought the colors went really well with it. And this was my first experience using that sticky foam board that's like adhesive on one side, and it's used for both of these. I'm not even gonna dare show you because it's duct taped on right now. Because when I say all my craft stuff is packed or down at the church right now, I'm not joking. So I wanted to at least get it to where I could display it a little bit. But I do hope to finish it a little more neatly later on. The corners, yeah, I'm no finishing expert, but for my first piece doing like this, I am not disappointed. I like it, and I'll tidy it up a bit down the road. But yeah, so that pattern is also in my Etsy shop. It's a lot of stitching. It's funny how something that small can be that much stitching. But I really enjoyed stitching it. So, and each little, I don't know if you call these motifs or not, but like each little teacup and that kind of thing, as it came together, I was just like, oh, look, makes the picture more, I don't know, it's coming alive. So that was fun. So yeah, so those patterns are in my Etsy shop. And I do have one other new pattern that is not finished, and it's in my whips, and I'll show it to you. But I wanted to talk about some stitchy kindness. I, in the back of my head, feel like I'm forgetting something that someone gifted to me. So I apologize in advance if you're watching this and I did not mention you and you gifted me something. So I'm so sorry. But I was going through what I could remember, and I came up with 2 people that I was chatting with and that have been so generous and so kind. I got a package in the mail from Somi Sarah, which Sarah and I have been chatting on and off for the last couple of months. Our son has Down syndrome, her daughter has Down syndrome, and that's just been a treasure to talk to another mama who gets it. And and it's just a gift. So anyway, so I got a little package in the mail, and she had sent some of her daughter's favorite books for Justin, and let me tell you, Pip and Posy, never heard of them before because I think they're a UK based storybook or storyline. Oh my goodness, absolute favorite book. He now flips the pages and I read them to him, and then I ask him because it's about a red balloon, and the balloon goes along and gets popped and all this stuff, and he, on every page, where's the red balloon? And he'll show you where the red balloon is. So that's been really, really, really sweet to see him engage with that way, but also just knowing that it came from Sarah, and knowing that it's a favorite of Charlotte's, and it was just special. So thank you, Sarah. And if you don't follow her by some chance, go follow her. She's awesome. And then she sent me this really pretty, I believe it's called Irish Linen. Yeah. So it's by Katie Lamar. I don't know the name, but Irish Linen ornament. So I thought this was super, super pretty. And a really sweet gift to get. So thank you, Sarah. And I do plan on hanging it up in my craft space, whatever that turns out to be when we move. So, yeah. So that was really, really sweet to get, and just made my day when that package came. And then the other thing I wanted to share was, I think I have a picture of it right here. I feel so rusty. I've only been away like a month and a half, but I feel so rusty. So I was chatting with Rhonda from Asbury Echo Stitches. I don't know what we were talking about that got the conversation going, but anyway, we were chatting, and she gave me her bundle of 3 patriotic stitches, and like US patriotic. So if you're new here or just never heard me say it, I'm from the US, and so I still celebrate 4th of July as well as Canada Day, and they just happen to be like 4 days apart, because Canada Day is July 1st. And so we usually do, when life's not too crazy, we usually do a joint celebration and invite people over, and we have decor for both things. So it's my goal eventually to have a little sun porch that is just decked out in patriotic stuff in the summertime, both Canada and the US. So when I saw her Stars and Stripes bundle, I was like, oh, I really want to stitch specifically the little firecracker candle things. So anyway, she gifted me these. I haven't started stitching them yet, and I don't have a printout, so I'll just show you that. So they're so sweet. I don't know how clear, excuse me, my phone was making it. So I definitely want to stitch these. I don't think I'll do the prim dyeing the fabric, like tea dyeing it or coffee dyeing it. I can't remember which one she does. That's not really my style. Although with the patriotic stuff, I feel like it kind of really, really matches. So I'm not sure. Maybe I'll venture into it at some point to try that with these. But I'm definitely going to stitch the firecracker ones and the Stars and Stripes. And then I haven't decided yet if I'm going to stitch the little girl and boy with the flag. But that was super sweet. And Rhonda, I do have, we're kind of swapping patterns. So I think I found the old pattern off of my old computer for the paddles that you asked for. So hang tight and hopefully I'll find them. Excuse me. So that was some really sweet gifts that I wanted to share. Excuse me. Let's see if I take a sip here. I'm venturing into smoothies, and this is a weird concoction of a smoothie here. So let's see if that's enough, or if I have to pause this and go get water. One other finish I have, which is so funny, but a cute little story, so I thought I would tell you, was while we were in Ontario staying with family, we stayed with Josh's oldest brother, and they have 3 children, and one of the kids, Nate, my nephew, saw me working on one of my whips. I just brought one pattern with me, and he asked me what it was the first time. Excuse me. And then I told him about cross stitch and stuff, and his mom cross stitches, or used to, but I don't think she does right now. So he asked me about it, and then a couple of days later, one evening, he got in from hockey practice or something like that, and asked me how was my hummingbird going, because that's what I was stitching on. And I said, oh, it's going good. And I showed him and stuff. I was like, you want to stitch on it? He's like, oh, I don't know how. I said, I could show you. And so we sat for, I don't know, 10 or 15 minutes. And he decided he wanted to stitch his name instead. So he started, and I kind of walked him through. I'm having a hard time with lighting today, guys. Sorry. There you go. So his name's Nathan, but he goes by Nate. And so he started and did the first part and the first slash down of the N. It was a little bit stretched by the time we got there. And then he was like, whoa, that's hard. So he asked me if I would finish it and cut it out for him. So a couple days later, I decided just to go with the kind of stretched look and just make it a little bit different with the lettering. So a couple days later, I got it finished stitching and then asked him what he wanted to do with it and suggested a Christmas ornament. So he asked me if I'd take it home and make it into a Christmas ornament. So at some point this year, my plan is to make it a Christmas ornament. And then one of my other nieces saw it and wants her name done. So she sat down and tried for a bit. So it was cute. It was a fun little time just kind of connecting. I am going to pause this and get some water and I'll be right back. Okay, I am back. Hopefully the water takes care of the frog in my throat. 2 patterns that I wanted to tell you about that are freebies. They're on my Instagram account. Sometimes I get designing and sometimes one design pops out and then I start stitching it and stuff. But then sometimes when I'm designing, it's like my pen on my iPad can't go fast enough making designs. And sometimes I just want to get them out there and share them. And so I had 2 freebies that I put out in the last couple of months. And I genuinely can't remember if this one was out before I did my last video and if I mentioned it or not. So I just wanted to make sure if you didn't hear about it, it's The Lord is My Shepherd, and it's on my Instagram. And you're literally going to find this exact image. I can't tell if these are going to show up backwards or not. But anyway, it's got little sheep and a shepherd. I actually have not stitched it yet myself. So my hope is to stitch it in a small version and make it into maybe an ornament for my Christmas tree this year. But I got so excited about it and I wanted to share it. So that is on my Instagram as well as this one. And you may recognize the llamas from my Valentine's pattern that I put out. But I thought these were fun to do for Mother's Day, and so they've been out on my Instagram a little while. If you can't find any of them and you're really looking for them, just shoot me a message, or you can always email me. I'm just at therockingchairstitcher@gmail.com. But I just thought they were fun. You could always, if you have one kid, you could just take away a llama, or however many kids, you could always add llamas. So anyway, these are both freebie patterns that are on my Instagram. If you would like, you can help yourself. And I wanted to show you my whips. I have been doing a lot of monogamous stitching, but I have tapped into a couple of my whips. Potentially one more, the lady in the bathtub, I might have stitched on one night, but it would have been just a little bit of like white cream that you wouldn't even notice. So I don't know that there was anything worth showing you on there. So we'll pull her out eventually again. But someone messaged me or commented on one of the old videos of my old Flosstubes that they have, I believe it was that kit. I don't remember if they have it stitched or if they're currently stitching it. Sorry, if that was you, I don't remember. I apologize. But I was so tickled to know that somebody else has the lady in the bathtub. So I pulled out 100 Owls by Owl Forest Embroidery, and I think I hadn't quite finished the second one here. And then I've gotten the wreath finished, some of the little foliage inside of the wreath down here, and then the outline of the face and a lot of the wing done. So this stitch is still honestly one of my favorites. Like, I don't know why I forget about it and put it away and don't stitch on it, because when I pull it out to work on it, I love it. But she's coming along, and my whole goal of trying to get an owl done a week was jokes. Or maybe it was 2 owls a week. Yeah, because I wanted to have it done in 1 year for my birthday. That's okay. Slow and steady wins the race. It's not really a race. So anyway, so I got a little bit more stitching done on that one. And then this one is My Soul Finds Rest by a new creation studio. I need to get a new iron. Something bad. So I am stitching this for a friend. I'm gonna try to hold this. So I feel like I got a fair amount done. I don't remember where I was at last time, but guys, I am on a struggle bus here. Okay, so maybe as best as we're gonna get. So more of the florals done. So this one has been a fun one to stitch. I've been having a pill of a time locally trying to source the green I need. So I don't remember what number it was. And last time I ordered from 123 Stitch, I forgot to order it. And now I'm not ordering anything because of the times it takes to get places up here. And I don't want it to get here, and then I've already moved. So That one may be a little longer in the works. But that one's been fun to stitch, and you'll see in my haul I've already bought another one of her patterns because I just love what she designs. I've mostly been stitching on just this one thing aside from my mushroom, the little mini mushroom. This is called Consider the Birds, and there's a passage of scripture in the book of Matthew in the Bible that is ringing very true to my heart lately. Just thinking on the goodness of God, on the goodness of God and his graciousness and how he cares for us, and the fact that he even considers the birds and cares for them. And so before we go, at the end of the video, I'll share that passage because it's just been something I've been meditating on a bit and just resting in. So it inspired, that passage was not the start of the inspiration. The inspiration actually was, I was watching, I can never remember names when I get on camera. I always get nervous. I'm going to say it backwards. Contented Needleworker Kim, which, by the way, thank you for shouting me out, Kim. I think I've got a bunch of new subscribers. Probably a bunch of you guys are from Kim referencing me online, because when her video came out and she mentioned me, I got an uptick in subscribers. So I'm pretty sure you guys came from over there. So thank you. Thank you, Kim. And thank you guys for coming over to check out my channel. When I was watching one of her latest videos, I was just noticing all the bird stitches. And I was like, I want to stitch, like I want to design a bird pattern. So I tried some new designing ideas, like to help me create the images and stuff. And anyway, it was took me a little bit of work, but it was fun because this is the most maybe intricate shape I've done. But I was like, I'm gonna do a bird. And so it was inspired by Kim, but then as the pattern kept coming to life, I was like, oh no, I'm making a border. And if you've ever watched Kim's YouTube, she doesn't like borders, or she doesn't do borders very much, I guess. So Kim, if you ever stitch this, you don't have to do the border. But this is Consider the Birds. So it will be a sweet hummingbird. And over here, it does not work. Okay. Over here in this space I was indicating. You ever think through a plan 0 and then realize how it's not going to work? Okay. Can't hold it and talk at the same time. So over here in this empty space and kind of down below underneath its beak or bill or whatever it's called is going to be the reference Consider the Birds of the Sky, which references that verse. And I'm really tickled with how it's coming out. I'm still working on filling it in, of course, but I've just really enjoyed designing this and stitching this and the reminder. So yeah. And Josh loves naming this bird. Every time I'm stitching on it, it's, oh, is that Billy? Oh, is that Fuzzy? This bird has so many names by now, none of which are very hummingbird-like. This holds another fun little thought with it, is that we have a hummingbird who every spring has come and sat. I've never seen a hummingbird sit still until this bird has come and sat on our power line. And he comes back every year. So I'm assuming it's the same one for the fact that it comes and sits on the power line outside our house. And so I have a hummingbird feeder that I put out maybe for the first time last year, I feel like. And we got, goodness, I think it was 3 or 4, and Josh was saying it was a little more than that maybe, hummingbirds coming to that feeder. There was still one that kept sitting on the power line, so assuming that's our old buddy. And then more came. So I want to put up our hummingbird feeder if I haven't already packed it, just so that way they can come back for a little while this season before we go. But yeah, so this is slightly in honor also of our power line sitting hummingbird friend that comes. But yeah, so this is Consider the Birds. I'm really enjoying stitching this, not monogamously, but kind of sort of halfway. It's definitely what's getting the majority of my time and efforts right now. And I'm just really enjoying the colors and stuff. So this one is kind of the first thing I've stitched that I think I will put it aside and wait till I'm ready and actually get it professionally framed. Because this is something that I want definitely on my walls for a long time. There is a tiny little nick in the fabric that is cut. I genuinely don't know what did it, if a cat claw got it or if it was in the project bag and my scissors slid across it, like my little scissors. I'm really not sure. So I am slightly worried about that it'll start to ravel. So I don't know if you have any advice. That's my only thing I'm nervous about, but really, really enjoying stitching this. So yeah, those are my whips. What was I gonna tell you? I just have a tiny bit of haul. I have a pattern by A New Creation Studio, which I always get super excited when she puts out a new pattern. Where? Oh, I took a picture of it, I thought, so I could show y'all. Okay, I don't seem to have a picture of it. I'm not going to sit and dig for it. But she put out an Easter one. I think it's called, did I write it down? Yeah, it's called My Redeemer Lives. I don't have a photo to show you, but if you get a chance, go on Etsy and look it up. It's really, really pretty. So I haven't started it. Don't have any plans right now to start it, but that was my, I think, only pattern I've purchased in the last little while, and it's really, really cute. Pretty would be more accurate than cute, I guess, to say. Actually, though, I think I bought another pattern on another website that wasn't Etsy. I will have to go back and look. Maybe I'll show you that next time. Brain. And then yesterday, Justin and I were out running errands and doing groceries and stuff, and we went into my favorite local thrift store. And sometimes they have cross-stitch stuff, sometimes not. And they had this whole bag of floss for $2 and these little scissors. And this was like factory sealed. Like, so I'm not quite sure because there's a mix of DMC and Anchor, and some of the DMC has part of the little paper packaging pulled off, which could have happened just being tousled. But it was factory sealed, so I don't know what kit somebody would have had that would have had scissors and then 2 different brands of floss. But there's some really pretty colors, and there was I keep a chart with all the floss that I have, or try to keep it updated. So when I was inputting these last night, their numbers, DMC numbers or whatever, there were several in there that I didn't have. Most of these I didn't have the colors. So that was nice that I didn't duplicate a ton, but I actually got some new colors. The Anchor ones, I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do. So the way my brain works, so I can stay organized, I tend to just pick one kind of brand or thing and stick with it. And so I basically stuck with DMC for the most part. So I'll probably keep the Anchor and just not use it in my designing, because I like the idea that if somebody buys a pattern, they can just, if they want, follow the colors I used, and it's all one brand, so they're not having to jump everywhere. That is not a necessity, I know, but it's just how my brain works. So I'll probably use the Anchor ones for like just random things I stitch that don't have to use called for. But yeah, for $2, I was very, very, very tickled to get that. And then I think that is all my haul. I was going to show you something that I was trying with my hummingbird pattern that I've been liking. And it's really not anything groundbreaking, but I have a little carabiner, and I don't really know where I got that actually. Maybe off a lotion bottle or something. Anyway, these are all the colors. Sorry guys. These are all the colors for my hummingbird pattern, and I've been really enjoying just using it like this, and I literally just go to the bobbin I need, or the floss bobbin or whatever, and take off what I need, and I just leave the whole thing on there. So this just goes right in my project bag, and I found it gets less tangly like this, and they fall out less when I'm pulling out my fabric and my hoop and stuff. And oftentimes these will come out with them individually, and then they drop, and I've misplaced them. I'm very, very good at misplacing small things. Large things too, especially small things. So anyway, I really liked having them on this little carabiner. You could probably find these at your dollar store. But I thought I would just share that little hack, tip, Sarah-ism, whatever you want to call it. So I think that is kind of it for me. A little bit all over the place, but that is life. But I really appreciate you coming back, and all the new subscribers, thank you for coming. And if you've mentioned me, and that's why I have new subscribers, thank you. I'm just really have continued to appreciate this community, really enjoy the conversations. I get to have a lot more conversations with people over on Instagram, which is fun. I do try to respond to your comments, although sometimes I get a little overwhelmed and just don't get to them very fast. So I do see them, I do read them all, and I try to talk with you. I don't always remember to go and check this filter settings on comments on YouTube that tell you that you've got to reply to when someone comments, you reply, and then they reply. I don't always see those. Sometimes like months later, I'm like, oh, they replied to that comment and said something else, and I didn't see it. So I'm not ignoring you, I promise. I found some recently that was like, oh, I never responded to them. So anyway, if you've commented or if you've messaged, I always enjoy reading those and chatting with you, so thank you. I am going to share a little bit of scripture. So like I try to always say, if this is not your thing, I totally respect it and you don't have to stick around, and I will definitely see you next time. And if you're still here and watching, I would love to share the passage that when I was inspired by the birds on Kim's last video on her wall, and I wanted to design that bird pattern, and I was like, what scripture could I put with it? Because I want to put more scripture up in my house. Josh was like, this passage came to mind, and then it's been a very applicable passage to life right now. Just letting go of worry and letting go of control and trusting that God is good and gracious and that his plans are better and more thought out than we could ever plan for ourselves. So I will just share it with you. It's Matthew chapter 6, verse 25 through 34. It says, therefore I tell you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat or drink, or about your body, what you will wear. Is not life more than food, and the body more than clothes? Look at the birds of the air. They do not sow or reap or store away in barns, and yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not much more valuable than they? Can any one of you, by worrying, add a single hour to your life? And why do you worry about clothes? See how the flowers of the field grow. They do not labor or spin. Yet I tell you that not even Solomon in all his splendor was dressed like one of these. If that is how God clothes the grass of the field, which is here today and tomorrow is thrown into the fire, will he not much more clothe you, you of little faith? So do not worry, saying, what shall we eat? Or what shall we drink? Or what shall we wear? For the pagans run after all these things, and your heavenly Father knows that you need them. But seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well. Therefore, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own. So I hope you find that passage challenging, convicting, encouraging. Hopefully all of the above. I do. And I find it a good challenge to remember to trust what God is holding us in right now, and that he will provide for us in the next thing. Whether you're in need of something or whether you're worried about how something's going to turn out or work out, or worried about other situations, I don't know. But I'm finding this is a really good reminder. And I just wanted to share it with you. So I hope you will have a great rest of your day. Enjoy your next Flosstube or whatever you're on to next. And I hope your heart will be encouraged by the truth of God's word. And I hope you enjoy your stitching. Bye, guys.